What is going on, folks? Paul here, coming at you with a crypto coffee update, where we start the day right with coffee and news and all kind of crypto stuff together. Of course, first things first, get a cup, fill it up, and simultaneous sip. Very deep mug, had a nice resounding kind of bass sound. I like that. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the news. We'll just get right into it because I left last crypto coffee update on a kind of cliffhanger. I mentioned that Tron is having their mainnet launch here soon. That's about a month from now on July 31st, and I only have about a month to set the stage. Remember all those videos I made about the Paradise Papers and Bitfinex and Tether and the Polish Bank and Brock Pierce? It took a while to kind of get everything in order and paint the picture in a sequential way that made a lot of sense. So let's go ahead and get into this, painting a beautiful picture of what is going to happen with Tron. Well, first things first, it's very relevant in the news. Just today, Pornhub to accept Tron while Tron buys BitTorrent for $118 million. Oof, that hurts. 75 million tokens from Verge to get a not-so-exclusive partnership with Pornhub. Well, according to the Pornhub VP Corey Price, he said that cryptocurrencies are especially viable in the adult entertainment industry, they're privacy-centric, and allow more anonymity compared to traditional Tinder. And that's very true. After all, your credit card has your name on it, so cryptocurrency is preferable. More importantly, what's up with BitTorrent? Well, BitTorrent was founded in 2004 as a file-sharing website, had some legal and financial issues, and has been in limbo ever since with some failed mergers and acquisitions, but Tron came to the rescue. It's going to help to facilitate, quote, plans to be a decentralized entertainment content sharing platform. Okay, that jives with their white paper. Eventually leveraging blockchain and peer-to-peer network technology. What's this eventually thing? This statement just threw me for a loop. Does that mean they're not using blockchain and peer-to-peer network technology now? What's going on? Lucas Newsy, this is the man of the hour. He paints a beautiful picture of exactly what's going on with Tron and exactly why it should be called, as you see at the bottom, Tron, the Frankenstein of Crypto. Lucas has a fantastic Medium article that I very much recommend. It is great research, but it's short, sweet, and to the point, all packed with information just how I like it. So, Lucas, you're my kind of researcher. First thing he found is that Tron is more centralized than the Chinese Politburo that it could potentially be working with. Draw your eyes down to the bottom and see ETH. Notice how it's below the 40% line, well below. Up towards the top, Tron's almost 100% centralized, and this is in terms of cumulative ownership of tokens. The top 100 holders collectively own 98.3% of Tron. That's mind-blowing. Here's a great pie chart to illustrate that. Right-hand side is the blue. Assumingly, that's the actual Tron company's account, so that's their funds. Nonetheless, 30-something%. And I like how Etherscan.io has the green and the black areas labeled as Bitrex and Binance, respectively. That lets you know that, hey, these aren't individuals, these are exchange wallets. Strangely enough, though, notice the orange to the left of the green. That one account has almost the same amount of Tron as the entirety of the Bitrex exchange, one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world. That will help you to understand when you look at the rest of these segments, while they look small in comparison to the right-hand blue area of the chart, these are giant whale accounts. After all, the little blue sliver towards the top, that's the remainder of the 1 million accounts that you don't see here. So it lets you kind of understand how centralized Tron is. And if that's something that doesn't bother you, that's totally fine. I'm not here to tell you that if something has a level of centralization that isn't tolerable for me, that it should also be intolerable for you. After all, if everything else checks out in your own research, that's totally fine. That's up to you. It's all about your own personal risk tolerance and preference. One thing that's not tolerable whatsoever, though, is intellectual dishonesty and theft. And that's exactly what we see. After all, Tron's a Chinese project, and here's just a small example of some of the glorious products, if you can call them that come out of the lack of respect for intellectual property rights in the Middle Kingdom. And Tron's no different. They basically copied their entire white paper. I've heard some claims that, well, this is how China does, you know, they just build on the shoulders of giants, it's no big deal. Well, this isn't building, because bottom right-hand side, 0 references. In fact, here's some specifics from the actual white paper. Left-hand side, IPFS. Right-hand side, Tron. We'll go a little quickly, so pause if you want. I don't want to take up all the time because we have a lot to cover. Same thing. Filecoin on top, Tron on the bottom. Pause and get a closer look. And the original reasoning for this was Justin Sun coming out and saying, look, this is a mistranslation issue. We're a Chinese company. Again, we build on the shoulders of giants, and in our rush and excitement to get this to the Western world and share with them what we're building, there was a translation error, and we used some similar work that we thought would be of better quality than us trying to translate from scratch. And yeah, it turns out that that's not the case. Trust nodes did their own research, as I try to drive home all the time. Do your own research. Turns out it's present in the Chinese language version too. So it's not a translation issue. This shifted a lot of the community discussion, as you see at the bottom, to talking about maybe Tron's strength lies in marketing. Well, you know what else had strong marketing? Enron, Theranos, Tesla. All of these are multi-billion-dollar companies that eventually failed, are failing, or are currently on the cusp of absolute collapse, just because they can't deliver what they say they're going to deliver. After all, you're marketing a product. You're just not marketing more marketing. That doesn't make any sense. And furthermore, how Justin Sun explained this is just, you have to hear it for yourself. Yes, one of our programmers did forget a very small thing that he didn't put on. However, it was so long ago and it was a very minor issue at the time. Well, for one, it doesn't sound like a small thing, Justin. It sounds like the whole white paper. And it doesn't sound like they forgot to put something on. It sounded like they forgot to do anything unique whatsoever. It's kind of like saying I'm 27 now, and when you were 4, you messed up with one goal kick. Well, no, it's kind of like saying literally less than 1 year ago you plagiarized your entire white paper and plagiarized the Ethereum J code base, Justin. It's a little less than just missing a goal kick. It doesn't really make sense because it's very insignificant in the bigger picture. Well, no one cares if you have a bigger picture if you're going to act like a thief and you're going to be intellectually dishonest. Your bigger picture is largely irrelevant to law. Furthermore, Justin couldn't even justify if they were using the Ethereum J code base. You can pause and read this whole thing, but basically he was like, oh, it was almost 6 months ago. We used a small portion. I don't know. He said to ask the team. Well, look at the bottom portion. The team also failed to provide clarity in an email to CoinDesk. Here's an image of their incoherent response. Like I said, I'm not going to read it word for word in respect for time, but needless to say, they don't say anything. They just offer gibberish about we did, we didn't, kinda, yes, no, maybe, I don't know. So yeah, Frankenstein of Crypto right there. And this is from Lucas Newsy's Medium article. Ethereum J is known to be unreliable and have issues like memory leakage. Not to mention, notice in the middle, by incorporating a delegated proof-of-stake consensus algorithm. That's right, all the issues that you just previously heard are going to be magnified because they're going to be using block producers, just like EOS. And this individual, Charles Hoskinson, who's been working on the Mantis client both for Ethereum Classic and for Cardano alike, I mentioned to Justin Sun, hey man, look, you might want to use the Mantis client instead of Ethereum Java because it's going to be better for pluggable DPoS style protocol, which makes sense. After all, Charles Hoskinson was co-founder and acting CEO of Invictus Innovations Incorporated back in 2013. He worked alongside Daniel Larimer to help to found BitShares, which was the first to pioneer the delegated proof of stake. This was also the time when Brock Pierce was working very heavily with Dan Larimer, the convicted pedophile who was arrested in Spain on a mountain of drugs and child porn and eventually extradited back to the US. Again, I'm not making any assertions about Charles. I'm just making clear, factual statements about the association between Dan Larimer and Brock Pierce. There is also a clear factual association of Charles Hoskinson and Daniel Larimer around the same time. This doesn't prove anything. These are both factual statements, but any conjecture off of those is simply just that, conjecture and hypothesis. However, this is from Charles Hoskinson's LinkedIn of his own admission, so there you have it. And Justin's response was very amicable. He said, thanks for the advice. We're looking to build the best blockchain tech out there, so we'll take a look at Mantis too. Well, just a word of advice here wrapping it up for Justin. If you're gonna use Mantis, try not to steal it like you did with your entire white paper and the Ethereum J protocol. And by the way, if you do decide to steal it, try to come up with a better excuse than, oh, it was my translator, when it's present in both versions. I mean, if you're gonna be a slimy, multi-billion-dollar scam artist with no technology to back up your statements, at least do it in a fashion that's reasonable. I mean, come on, dude. It's like amateur hour every hour. Justin, I expect much more from you in the future, young man. Get your big boy pants on. All right, let's go ahead and get into the actual happenings. As this has been a relatively long Crypto Coffee update, let's take a look at Friday, June 29th. The Rethink Trust 2018 conference is happening in Amsterdam, and it's only €299. Luckily, we host these conferences in Cryptide every other week for the low price of $0. So, BlockCo Plus is happening over in Tokyo. Blockchain 3.0 is happening in Singapore, and that's all for Friday. For Saturday, June 30th, Saya is launching their ASICs over at obelisk.tech. Interesting. And Trade Satoshi is delisting 23 separate cryptocurrencies. So hop on over to their Twitter account, take a look, make sure none of your smaller coins are being delisted, guys. That's on you. And VeChain is coming up on the deadline for their mainnet. And personally, I just added this in here just to let people know. In my opinion, deadlines are kind of meh. You never know what hiccups or issues may occur in this emerging technology. And forcing a deadline on yourself can lead to rushed processes that oftentimes can lead to more work in the long run. So even if VeChain needs a little extra time, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. So ultimately, I'd rather them take a little extra time and release a working product rather than, say, pull an EOS, release a mainnet in less than a year on June 2nd and have it grind to a halt and have huge constitutional issues that are basically popcorn movie worthy. So yeah, moving on to Sunday, June 1st. Chainers 2018 is coming out of Seoul, and that's it for Sunday. And that's it for the Crypto Coffee update. Let me know what you thought of this kind of content below in the description. Was it informative? Was it interesting? Was it off base? Do you know something I don't know? Because if you do, let's share. Sharing is caring, and after all, without full relevant information, we can't make the cryptocurrency space the best it could possibly be. So let's get together, let's swap some knowledge, and let's spread it around. Let's make sure everyone's up to date and accurate. Of course, all the information below in the description, along with the big old list of B-list tokens. They're fantastic, not bad coins, just way too much to report on with respect to time. After all, we're coming up on the limit here. Much love, guys. We are Cryptide, and remember, the tide is rising.